So, what's good, everybody? My name is Aaron Baker, and in this podcast, we are going to go through the strange and weird aspects of history. History you probably know about, history you probably don't. But anyway, let's get into it. Today, I got an interesting. This one really jumped out at me. I've never heard of this before, and evidently, it even has its own statue. So, let's get right into it. So, what I'm talking about is a Syrian brown bear adopted by the Polish army during World War II. That's right. There was a brown bear adopted by the Polish army in World War II. And not only was he adopted, he had the rank of private, and he eventually rose to the rank of corporal. And he mainly served as a morale booster for the soldiers. And this bear's name was Wojtek the bear. And Wojtek is actually a Polish word, which means joyful warrior. And the way they came about to get this bear is actually very interesting. I learned about this from Britannica. And so in 1942, the 22nd Artillery Supply Company of the 2nd Corps of the Polish Army was sent to the Middle East to face the forces of Nazi Germany. Near the city of Hamadan, Iran, a young shepherd traded a Syrian brown bear and a burlap sack to the members in exchange for a Swiss Army knife, canned beef, and chocolate. So this kid had a bear and a burlap bag, and he traded this bear for a knife, canned beef, and chocolate. And then the soldiers, they took it. They just kind of adopted the bear because they thought maybe the mother was likely killed by hunters. And so they fed him condensed milk from an empty vodka bottle, honey, fruit, and marmalade. So when I read that about marmalade, all my first thought was like Paddington bear. But he was a Peruvian brown bear, and this is a Syrian brown bear. Anyway, so he came to trust his companions, and a soldier named Peter Brindis became Wojtek's caretaker. Brindis taught the bear to salute, wave, and march, and Wojtek appeared to happily perform these duties when not training. Wojtek amused himself with the soldiers in the camp by engaging in their activities. So he engaged himself into what the soldiers were doing, which is included wrestling and boxing. So can you imagine just walking up to this group of Polish military men and you see them wrestling with a bear, or the bear's just like saluting or waving or marching with them? It's just because it's kind of a cool sight to see. So they gave the bear the double rations, and he also gave the bear treats. So Wojtek, his treats included cigarettes and beer. And he really enjoyed the beer, and according to this, Wojtek did not seem to be intoxicated. So when they did give him the cigarettes and beer, he never got intoxicated, but he really liked the taste of it. So when they practiced with their grenades the soldiers lobbed oranges, which Wojtek chased. He also enjoyed riding in trucks at first in the passenger seat when he was a cub, then in the back seat when he grew larger. So when he was young, he got shotgun. So one of Wojtek's favorite activities was taking long, cold showers, and he eventually learned to turn on the shower by himself. When shortages resulted from the pair's profligate use of water, his comrades forbade him to shower alone, so they had to shower with the bear. Nevertheless, one day Wojtek is said to have found the door to the showers opened and wandered inside, where he encountered an Arab who had sneaked into the Polish camp to locate his weapons arsenal so that local dissidents might later raid it. Wojtek terrified the interloper, causing him to surrender to the Poles. As a reward, Wojtek earned himself an unlimited shower time and 2 bottles of beer. So he prevented this Arab from coming in and finding their stash of weapons. 2 years later, in 1944, when the 22nd Artillery Supply Company prepared to ship out to join the Allied military campaign in Italy, it ran against the rigidity of the military rules. Pets were banned in the army, and to stay with his unit, Wojtek needed to officially enlist. He was given the rank of private and a serial number, and he was permitted to remain with his fellow soldiers. So Wojtek actually got enlisted into the Polish army in 1944, 2 years after they got the bear. Wojtek's presence boosted the morale of the troops and brightened their days. Moreover, beyond acting as a morale booster, he allegedly played a combat role during the Battle of Monte Cassino, In May 1944, it is said that Wojtek, intimidating his human companions, carried artillery shells and ammo crates between trucks and troops engaged in combat. In his honor, the company charged its insignia to a bear carrying an artillery shell for his service and bravery. Wojtek was eventually promoted to the rank of corporal. Having proved himself to be a useful part of the unit, the bear continued his antics. He loved scaring swimmers in the Adriatic Sea, stalking horses and donkeys, and I'm assuming that he just kept on going with the wrestling and boxing with his humans. However, because he had been raised by humans, Wojtek did not really present a threat to people. After the war ended, he and much of the rest of the unit were sent to the relocation camp in Scotland in 1946. At the camp, Wojtek was once again a source of joy for many people, and he enjoyed himself by partaking of 2 bottles of beer per day and unlimited rations, as well as frolicking in the swimming pool built for him in the camp. In return, Wojtek helped his companions carry fence posts as they worked on a Scottish farm. So this is really quite the bear. He served in them. He has quite the story too. He was found by a boy. He was traded for essentially food and a Swiss Army knife. And then he was in the military. He was actually enlisted, had a serial number, got raised up to the rank of corporal. And now he's kind of retired and he's living in Scotland helping build fences and frolicking swimming pools. It's amazing. As the troops began to demobilize, concerns arose regarding where Wojtek should be resettled. His comrades believed that because he had been cared for as humans since he was a cub, Wojtek might not survive in the wild, which is a very fair point. He was raised by humans his whole life, and then they just didn't think he could make it in the wild. The soldiers did not wish to send Wojtek to Poland either because they were feared he would be used for propaganda purposes by the communist authorities who had been taken power in the country. In 1947, the bear was instead moved to Edinburgh Zoo, where he received many visitors over the years. When his former comrades visited the zoo, they brought Wojtek beer, candy, and cigarettes, and they even wrestled with him. Wojtek died in the zoo in 1963, so he had a pretty full life for a bear. He was commemorated in films, including the documentary Wojtek, the Bear That Went to War. And that movie came out in 2011. It's a pretty fun watch, as well as the 30-minute animated film, Bear Named Wojtek. I have not seen that, but it came out in 2022, which was created with support from organizations in Poland and the United Kingdom. A bronze statue of Wojtek with Prindis is unveiled in Edinburgh in 2015. Other statues of Wojtek were erected in Krakow, Poland, and Dundee, Scotland in 2014 and 2016, respectively. So I really don't know much about the Polish army before this, and I don't know much now still. But one thing I do know is that the Polish army had a bear, a Syrian brown bear, in World War II that helped them boost their morale, because that was kind of a gruesome war. And I feel like, it was almost like a godsend for them to boost their morale and be with them. And they cared for him. They loved him as one of their own. And he's really quite the bear. He helped him in battle and helped him off battle. He even, like we said, he captured an Arab. He helped keep the Arabs from coming in and finding out their weapon supply. So that's all we got time for today. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave 5 stars or rate it however you want. But I hope you got blessed from this. I learned something new. I know I did. I'll catch you on next time. And until then, this is Aaron Baker saying have a great day. Jesus loves you, and God bless.